The WikiLeaks dump of classified information still has intelligence officials on edge. President Trump is forced to release his tax returns, and the president plans to cut some funding to the UN. All that and more right here on Politics and the People. First, WikiLeaks' Vault 7 dump of information regarding cybersecurity activities of the CIA is potentially devastating to the intelligence community. But is all this transparency good or bad? We'll hear from former U.S. intelligence officer Henderson Cooper and get his thoughts on whether this is proof of the so-called government deep state. Then, Rachel Maddow recently revealed details from a copy of the president's tax returns. But was it all for nothing? We talk with CPA John Weldon to find out if the release hurts or helps President Trump. Plus, the president plans to seriously slash funding for the United Nations. Will other countries be able to ante up the money to replace the U.S. cuts? Republican political activist John Goya answers that question and more for us. I'm Michael Deary. You're watching Politics and the People. Hello, and thank you for watching Politics and the People. Throughout various parts of the internet, you'll hear references to the deep state, a shadow government possibly working to undermine President Trump. Some say the WikiLeaks Vault 7 dump on March 7th is proof of the deep state. WikiLeaks released over 8,000 classified documents that expose the CIA's massive hacking arsenal. They show that the CIA has the ability to spy on Americans through our phones, smart TVs, and even possibly cause car crashes remotely. Retired National Intelligence Agent Henderson Cooper joins us now. Coop, is there a deep state, and is this proof that the CIA is part of it?
Well, if I knew the answer to whether there was a deep state, then it wouldn't be that deep. I think most people have a belief about secret organizations that exist that control the world and rule things. I don't know if that's true or not.
What are the biggest revelations from this Vault 7 leak?
Well, number one, it's an allegation that these are actual documents and that they're factual. We don't know that they're factual. We don't know that they're actually from whatever organization they're supposed to be from. So the difficulties that it presents, though, is that if they are true, then it exposes our government, it exposes operations, it exposes our agents and officers in the field. It exposes our political leaders who make decisions, because if they were from, let's say, the CIA, that would represent initiatives put forth by our president. And those are national security issues. There are issues about the status of life and the safety of the world, and it puts everything at risk.
Now, these tools are traditionally used, I believe, by the NSA, if I'm not mistaken, and it seems that the CIA is now, if these are, legitimate documents, are attempting to sort of recreate the same tools of surveillance that the NSA uses. Why would the CIA need to do that?
Well, let's give this some perspective.
Okay.
Facebook has your name, your birth date probably. They know where you are because they can, get back to where you originate your online work. They have all the information that you provided to them. They have your contacts, so they know who your friends are. Google, same thing. Amazon, same thing. All these organizations that you freely give your information to have as much information as everyone seems to be fearful that CIA, NSA, and others have. And no one complains about it. They simply accept it. The tools that those groups use is code. The tools that hackers use is code. It's the same thing. So, when you talk about the CIA and the NSA and what they're doing, they are an extension of some of the things that are going on all the time already. They just use it for supposedly legitimate purposes, the protection of the country.
So for our viewers at home, you would say that any concerns about them being surveilled personally might be overblown?
Not overblown, but it is possible to do. If you look at the way the world is going through, towards AI, artificial intelligence, and everything being connected, everything considered smart. Smart's a nice, polite way of putting the term that the computers can, or the devices can speak to each other. All devices can speak to each other. So if they have a radio in them, meaning they broadcast and they receive, they can speak to whoever they broadcast to and whoever they receive from, and they can be made to speak to each other. So your phone and my phone could be made to communicate with each other. They can know that we're in proximity to each other. So all the devices that we have in this day and age are getting to that point. Tesla is testing out artificial intelligence and managing and controlling cars. Google doing the same thing. We have these things all over our society today. So that these things exist is not really news. In terms of surveillance, specific to your question, if law enforcement or the intelligence community or the government needs to do surveillance, they need to use any and all methods possible. And this is just a byproduct of that.
Some of the allegations are a little bit disconcerting, especially the allegation that the government may be able to hack into a vehicle remotely and cause it to crash in the case of an assassination and making it look like an accident. Is there any truth behind these allegations? Is that a capability that the government may have?
Well, just as I said, Tesla and Google are testing remotely controlled vehicles that you can take your hands off the wheel and the vehicle will drive down the street without crashing, in theory. So if that can be done by private companies, then certainly anyone can do the same thing. And just recently, there were some groups that tested the ability to hack into cars. And I think on one of the news stations, they showed a car that was being driven down the street by the newscaster, and that car was taken over.
Do you think that these allegations are undermining the integrity of the intelligence community on a bigger level, on a broader level?
Well, I think it's dangerous when we start, talking about what things our government can do, what things our intelligence community can do, what things our police agencies can do, and we broadcast that to the people that we're most concerned with, the terrorists, the criminals, the people who do terrible things to us. It's in essence taking away the weapons and the tools that those agencies might need to protect us and to save us. We're more fearful of the CIA than we are of hackers, and hackers are doing things to us all the time. And in theory, the CIA, FBI, NSA are doing things based on law, based on authorities, not based on just they want to shut down a grid or they want to shut down, take over your car.
Do you think that there are any positives from this leak? Could it, possibly gender a more, open conversation about the government's tactics and abilities?
From my standpoint, no. There's nothing good about it.
There's no redeeming qualities in the WikiLeaks?
No. Should
Julian Assange be prosecuted for leaking this information?
Well, I don't know that Julian Assange did leak it. I don't know where he got it from. I think we should go to the source and find out who did leak this, if it was actually leaked, who did and how they did, so that we can be smarter about that. Julian Assange is a figurehead for WikiLeaks, and I have no big issues with him. I'd appreciate it if he didn't put information out that put people at risk like me or others who are or were in that work. But I have no big issue with Julian Assange. I'm not looking to arrest people and take people off the street.
Coop, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we can have you back soon enough to talk about this again.
More than welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Coming up, a copy of President Trump's tax returns were leaked to the press, but it might not be the smoking gun some in the media claim it is. CPA John Weldon tells us what these returns mean and whether or not they hurt the president politically next.